Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much again for joining us. I'm Marco Fiore from Michael Cultural Association, and today I have the honor to moderate this ANCHISE Talks. We have Vincent Michel from Université de Poitiers and Aura Fossati from Paris Panthéon-Sorbonne. But before introducing you to the speakers, some general knowledge about this session and also about a few rules. I will ask you to cut your microphone so that we leave the speakers talk. You can ask questions in the chats or wait for the Q&A session at the end of this conversation. We're gonna hear before from Vincent Michel, and then Aura will keep going with the conversation. Then we will have a moment for a joint conversation, and then we will open the floor for questions. Introducing the speakers, we have Professor Vincent Michel, professor in archaeology at the University of Poitiers in France. He's excavating in Middle East since 1994, recently in Hebron and in Palestine, and since 2011 and 2011 in Libya as director of the French Archaeological Mission. He's working also as French expert and referent for several institutions and investigators in the fight of illicit trafficking of cultural goods in France and abroad, to aware and to train. And then we have Aura Fossati, who is an archaeologist and a researcher in cultural heritage protection in fragile contexts, currently working on at the Université Paris Panthéon-Sorbonne as a PhD fellow. Her research focuses on the anthropogenic destructions, in particular on looting practices of archaeological remains in Mexico and Guatemala, through the application of computational methods and remote sensing. Her work also addresses issues concerning the illicit trafficking of cultural goods, archaeological heritage, and local development, cultural heritage geopolitics, and the role of scientific diplomacy in these areas. She is the scientific co-director of the Italian Archaeological Mission in Mexico. So, the presentations have been done. I will leave the floor to Professor Michel, and I'm giving access to a bunch of people that weren't connected yet. And I will give you the organization.
Okay, great. So, thank you very much, Marco, for this introduction. And good afternoon or good morning, it depends on your country, to the audience. And thank you to ANCHISE and to make Michael Culture to give me the opportunity to present how we can increase the awareness of the academic community through different examples of projects and of initiatives. My action and my interest in the protection of heritage and in the fight of illicit trafficking of cultural goods are ancient for the protection of heritage. As Marco said, since 1994, I excavate in Middle East. But the fight against illicit trafficking is more recent, and I will try to explain why. And because as many of us, it shows that awareness of the problem dates back to the Arab Spring in 2011, and since 2014 or 15 with ISIS. There was a real turning point before and after 2011, and before and after 2014. We realize how the world of art were attacked directly or indirectly by offense, by traffickers and by thieves. I, excavator, digging in the Middle East, I always make the experience of vandalism, destruction and looting. I'm digging in the morning, and the next day I found on my site that a new hole done by a visitor, by some looters, and of course it's a trauma. It's a trauma. Why? Because I never know what he found. Maybe it's coins and 1 million of coins, but maybe it's very important things. But first of all, for archaeologists, looting, clandestine excavation, it's a real trauma. It's a offense to heritage. And since Arab Spring and also with this in Libya, by example, you can see these two double picture in 2004 when we inaugurate the end of the restoration of a church that I make the restoration in east of Libya, and after 2011. With Daesh, with all militia, and a part of the church was completely destroyed. Is the everyday life, I mean, of archaeologists. And the second part, it's aware law enforcement. Because I never know police before, I never know customs before, I never know justice before. And for archaeologists, it's not useful to work with law enforcement. And in this date, just in 2012, when I received a request to make an expertise about two of the four statues from Libya, and because I'm the head of the French mission in Libya, I was able to make this expertise. And for the first time, I meet people from police, from OCBC, the French specialized police in France, and because it was very difficult to prove the theft. In this case, we maintain the Caesar thanks to a custom offense. It means that I realize how we need to work together. And the last step is, of course, dialogue with magistrates. And I discover that no one are very aware about this topic. And I try to do my best and to understand what can I do to aware a lot of kind of people, a lot of time of people, because we have we can distinguish two moments, two periods for the illegal artifacts. The first, when the artifact come and appear, it's a phase of identification. I mean, the birth of the illegal artifacts, and many cases, looting, theft. And the second phase is the circulation of the artifacts. It means that no looted artifact, no theft artifacts could be circulated without a new history, a new face, a new profile. It's mean laundering. And one of our vulnerability are coming from laundering on artifacts or thanks to documents accompanying the artifacts. It means that because of all the destruction, if I speak just with people engaged in the heritage or in culture, they're like me, they're aware about this. And I feel that the new challenge is to aware another people, investigator, a member of justice, art market, of course, and of course my own community, a researcher community. And we can improve the fight of illicit trafficking if we cross, if we develop international and concerted action. And each time, it's my favorite sentence. It's mean from identification of object to trial, to judicialization of cases through investigation. And the finality is, for me, restitution to private people, but almost the case to public organization. What to do? What to do as an archaeologist, a professor, and my reflection turn to the role and the mode of action of those who investigate and those who protect. And I realized how the scientific community constitute considerable breeding ground, a vivier, breeding ground, which needs to be invested and invented, creative. And thanks to our great freedom of action, initiative, and speech, because we have a more flexible hierarchy. In fact, it's not so difficult. We need just to redirected, to reoriented the scientific community to the fight of illicit trafficking. They could be extremely effective, both as, by example, whistleblowers to alert, but also as an expert for investigator. But also we have to convince all the people, and especially our students. There are still too few cases brought to trial. Too many people are unaware of cultural property offenses. And I realize how this topic is not a priority for anyone. And we need, that's the real challenge. We have to be persuasive and to create institut personnel relationship. We need to create a real network. Alors, I propose in the few minutes to just to expose the four pillars that I use to try to fight illicit trafficking: teaching first, research, repressive measure, and of course awareness. First, teaching. As a teacher, teaching the fight of illicit trafficking has become a priority. Whenever it's possible, we have to fight ignorance. And it's sure that it's very easy to aware, to inform, to train, to teach. Just to put, and I do in my lesson in Oriental, by example, I put some example, not from just academic, from library, from official provenance, but like as you see, a picture from looting artifacts, a picture from artifact in sales, just to aware and to show to the student how is this scourge, and it's very huge. So the idea is to think again about how we need to teach to the student, just to inform about this tragedy. And by example, I give some time for the exam, just prepare and give an example how to aware people. And there are a lot of example of creativity. Just example from my student is in Sciences Po. Alors, it takes time. It shows that it takes time, and whenever and wherever we can, we need to develop this kind of training. Police, custom, in also magistrate. In France, the last it's the army training, and last week I was with NATO. Look, everywhere we need to inform and to aware about this. national, but also international. With the WCO, the World Customs Organization, with NATO, as I say, with the European Commission, do a lot, finance a good project and training. And when it was a good experience last year during my excavation in Hebron, in occupied territory in Palestine. I organized a training session, a workshop about illicit trafficking, and I invite a member of the National Financial Prosecutor Office, PNF, one policeman and one custom. In the first half a day, they excavate, and they, by themselves, understand what is the most important for the object. Is the object in context. And thanks to this context, we can tell a history. It's the goal of the archaeologist. And after, during the afternoon, we visit together looting sites. It was for them a real trauma. And after, of course, we train with and we exchange between the law, archaeology, investigator, and law enforcement. It's initiative. I never wait for my hierarchy to propose. That's why it's the most difficult, just to be creative and to be inventive, how to aware. Of course, in the second pillar is research, and to give a subject on this topic about typology of object, about region, about waves, about network. We need to involve all disciplinaries to this topic. And we organize also an annual colloquium also in Poitiers, always in this topic, and we change, of course, the meaning and the partnet. And believe me that in each case we see each other, we meet each other. It's a good pretext to be together. And all together, we put all together, and each time there is people from justice, people from law enforcement, people of archaeology, a member of law, and all together. And in this case, we create a trust relation. It's very important because we speak about offense. We speak about illicit trafficking. It's not nothing. And of course, it's very important, and thanks to the European Commission, they finance a lot of good project. And until the initiative of the French School of Athens, École Française d'Athènes, with Véronique Chokowski, we support this incredible project of Polar, policier and archaeologist, nature, and now with ANCHISE, and thanks to ANCHISE, I am behind, in front of you. The idea is to involve the binôme, the communication, the relation between researcher and law enforcement, between the researcher and justice, and there is a lot. There is a lot of people. Just we need to reorient, to change the direction of these people. For example, in France, we have we have almost 2,000 archaeological missions abroad. It means that there is quite 200 experts could be help law enforcement. And of course, ICOM, thanks to the incredible work of ICOM, thanks to the Red List, also the same network of 35,000 expert members of ICOM could be reoriented to this topic of the fight of illicit trafficking. More recently, in December 2022, my laboratory of research, I create this research unit on illicit trafficking of cultural goods. The idea If you, like as a law enforcement, if you, like a member of justice, you need some information, quantitative and qualitative information, data, we can put one student, we can put a student research to this topic, just to involve and to increase this this binom. We need as a you feel that we need something, and when we put together, it makes sense. And by example, it was of my student Camille Blanchet and Morgan Belzic, and they discovered that one artifact saved in 2000 moved and was sold 5 times all over the world, and change the profile, change the name, but thanks to the research, we discover this, and it's amazing. There is a lot of initiative, and we thanks to Jamila Felag from the University of Grenoble, do the same, and just to improve the role of academic research. Behind this coordination between investigator and expert, it's a good example of Pandora. It's an European initiative with Europol, Eurojust, Interpol, WCO, and just to put together a law enforcement and expert. And look at this item says, look at the number of arrests, look on the ongoing investigation. It's incredible, just to put together researcher and law enforcement. Of course, we need to aware a member of justice, but as you know, like me, problem of priority. Donc we need to convince them to take also heritage cases and to be aware about this kind of offense. We spent, it's not for myself, but we need also to spend time on the media, to speak and to explain what is the difference between thefts and looting, how why it's so difficult, how it's so important to be aware of this, because you are seller, you are a buyer, you are intermediary, you are a restaurator. It's very important to be like that. I don't want to be so long, just for the fourth pillar about awareness. Also, during my campaign of excavation, always I invite people, some public, scholar. Of course, it's my priority to aware scholar. It's a good pretext, a good occasion, because we are on the site, because we excavate, and we can explain how it's important to have this artifact in context, in stratigraphy, because thanks to this we can tell, as I told you, an history. If because of the looting, the artifact is out of context, we can't say nothing, and it's forgotten for the eternity. It's a trauma. And the last things that I would like to say, it's from Caesar to exhibition. I was at the initiative of the first exhibition of this thematic in the Museum of Louvre, and we with my colleague, we organize a small exhibition, and we, as you can see, we expose 4 statues from Libya that I make the expertise in 2012, and two panels of marble seized by custom, and we expose with the seal, and the police seal and the custom seal. And what I would like to transmit just to the public, just to know, to say that behind a statue, behind an artifact, maybe it could be an offense. It could be looting or a theft. Be aware, and take time to verify that when you buy or when you sell something, it's clean. And there is another exhibition in France, but I know that in the airport of Beirut, in the museum in Ankara. There is a lot and more exhibition of this topic, but we need to be at this initiative. Donc, just to conclude that I don't like the name of the word expert, because a lot of experts are now in prison. I prefer the name sachant, knowing, just to repeat the role of the researcher, close to law enforcement, too close to justice, but also close to art market and population. And it's just to this articulation. And so the main meaning of the ANCHISE program is to, thanks to the European Commission, to put together all these disciplinaries and to discover how it is matching when we are all together. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you very much. I see a question going on in the chats, but I'll before leave the floor to Aura. You have now the role as an organizer, and you can project.
Thank you, Marco. I will share my slides. And, can you see it?
Yes, they are there. Eventually, I'm gonna send you, for the time, I will send you a message in the chat. You will see it appear if you go over time or whatever, just to let you know.
Sorry, Marco, I didn't see it.
No, but it was okay. You were on time. Perfect.
I will put my timer. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you to the ANCHISE project, Michael Culture, and thank you, Vincent, for your interesting presentation. And I will build on some points raised by Vincent, but I will focus on Mesoamerica. That is my area of specialization. And at the same time, I will present the contribution of academic research to other aspects and timelines of the illicit trafficking chain through my more recent experience. So simply to clarify the context, I can't. Okay. For those who may be more familiar with other regions, Mesoamerica represents a cultural area conceptualized in the mid-20th century, governed by common traditions in pre-Hispanic times. Today, it extends from Mexico to part of Central America, with modern-day Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. It's a region characterized by a variety of ecosystems, cultural expressions, archaeological remains, and many ancient cultures, such as Olmecs, Mayas, and Aztecs, emerged in this region, and their material expressions are still today the subject of looting and illicit trafficking. And I have to say also that modern countries of this region are characterized by different levels of economic development, social and political complexity with instability and insecurity related issues. So we have set the context a little, and in this way we are shifting culturally and geographically. But we still encounter the same concepts. So academic research to produce scientific data, that is data validated by scientific processes. Why? To generate knowledge and support actions of prevention, protection, enforcement, and awareness raising. And for whom, for other researchers working in the field, as scientific collaborations are and exchanges are key and allow for more effective and innovative solutions. for law enforcement on the operational side, for policymakers in the areas of prevention and the management, and for local communities. I saw some questions in the chat, and the local communities who are the primary actors facing these challenges. So also for Mesoamerica, such as for other regions, scientific research is crucial for understanding the various phenomena related to the illicit trafficking of cultural goods. Key research topics include the looting practices, criminal organizations, money laundering, war crimes, and social, economic, and political issues associated to the illicit trafficking, along with legislation, public policies. Academic research is also essential for provenance studies. We saw in Vincent's presentation, reconstructing object itineraries and identifying involved actors and networks. And additionally, research contributes to the development of new technologies and tools for data production and exploration, as well as adapting existing technologies to effectively address these challenges. But of course, in this region, in Mesoamerica, academic research is essential also in other intervention contexts, as we saw with Vincent, although unfortunately the levels of researcher involvement may not yet be the same in this region, in this context, or at least in some countries. But academic researchers do work, for instance, with specialized police units when this type of units exists. For instance, in Mexico, Mexico had or is in the process of establishing and training specialized units for cultural properties related crimes. But researchers work also with customs, national and international public organization on several issues, strategic analysis, training and capacity building, field monitoring, web monitoring. But the scientific expertise and academic actors are especially leveraged in requests for restitutions of cultural objects located in third countries. And for instance, in the case of Mexico, which in recent years has pursued very hard restitution policy and managed to repatriate more than the last number was 13,000 objects since 2018. So it's a huge achievement that has been made possible largely due to the scientific work, not only, but also, especially the work of archaeologists at the Registro Público de Monumentos y Zonas Arqueológicos e Histórico of the Mexican National Institute of Anthropology and History, the INA, or also the work of researchers from universities, also in foreign countries, who examine the objects and conduct provenance research. In the INA, in this institution in particular, which is the public organization that handles all matters related to cultural heritage, whether it be management, protection, or also the scientific research, academic scientific research. There is a person, in this case an archaeologist, responsible for monitoring the web and conducting provenance research, attempting to trace the itineraries of objects. Of course, it's a colossal work, and although very effective, the resources, more resources are needed. But important artifacts have been recovered and returned such as the bas-relief of Choc from Chiapas and the Monument 9 of the site of Chalcatzingo, both Olmecs, both from Mexico, and the return respectively from France and the United States. And also, Vincent highlights the awareness-raising activities has an important framework for academic researchers, and it's the same for the Mesoamerican region, particularly in engaging with local communities. And this is essential due to the remote locations of many archaeological sites, which can complicate oversight by local authorities and creates also some trust issues with local institutions. So scientific field projects can act as channels for information and create a space of exchange. And there is also a potential for involvement in school and university programs. Although I'm not aware of specific initiatives on, for example, provenance research of illicit trafficking related topics in this region, but the work in the university framework, but the work in the field with local schools, especially in remote areas, is ongoing in some projects. So academic research holds significant potential for engaging with difficult to reach areas, and of course is crucial in supporting public campaigns and the dialogue with the public society, but also at the decision-making level. Other aspect that INA in Mexico is contributing to in the recent years. So now I would like to present in more detail and in a different perspective a case of academic research, specifically archaeological research, which can be developed to address issues related to illicit trafficking. And I will focus on the origins of the operational chain on illicit trafficking in the source countries, to present how far we can go, what types of data we can mobilize, and what methods and processes we can borrow from a discipline that normally studies ancient phenomena or objects, while here we will use it to study more contemporary actions and features, such looting practices. Of course, research did not begin just now. So, and for Mesoamerica, it dates back to the 1960s, focusing on illicit trafficking, illicit trade in pre-Hispanic artifacts. Some scholars have classified the looting based on the motivations of looters, employing socio-criminological and ethnographic methods to reconstruct trafficking operations. Some studies have analyzed Mexico's regulations, for instance, from a legal perspective, and other studies, other scholars have investigated the pre-Hispanic antiquities market to assess the scale of the trade, but also the destruction of archaeological sites. But in these specific areas, archaeological research has been, let's say, underused, primarily focusing on the study of objects rather than addressing broader issues of illicit trafficking linked to the archaeological site and what we can examine in the field, unlike in regions such as the Middle East or even in Peru, where this kind of research is ongoing. While ecological differences exist between these regions, the methods of traditional archaeology can be adapted to study looting and trafficking, also because archaeology's interdisciplinary nature, incorporating tools and methods and approaches from other disciplines like geomatics, chemistry, mathematics, statistics, and the computational sciences, it can allow to effectively address contemporary issues related to the illicit trafficking of cultural goods. So, specific adapted archaeological approach has not yet been developed in this region, and such an approach could provide new data and complementary information. In this perspective, I'm currently studying the dynamics of distraction, particularly the looting practices of archaeological heritage in regions like Mexico and Guatemala, using an archaeological approach that brings together various types of analysis, including typological, spatial, statistical, and draws on different types of data, such as Earth observation, for instance, satellite images, archival information, archaeological operation reports, of course, field missions data, and also LiDAR data. LiDAR is a technology that allows the production of high-definition 3D maps, but especially enables penetration through vegetation, thus recording elements covered by the forest, for example, a very common environment in Mesoamerica. And the goal of the research is to synthesize all this data to produce information on the different types of looting, knowing that their morphology can depend on the resources deployed in terms of the people and time, which can inform us about various types of excavations organizations. These can help us gather information about the types of actors involved, the types of looters, and the type of looting, subsistence, opportunistic, organized, commissioned excavations, information useful for law enforcement and also policymakers. Analyzing the spatial distribution alongside the architectural and chronological data of the affected structures can inform us about the more targeted and therefore more vulnerable areas, sectors, which is essential information for developing prevention and the monitoring strategies for the authorities in charge. And the same data combined with stratigraphic data from planned excavations, when archaeological projects, of course, are in place, allow us to identify the types of objects, maybe estimate sometimes the numbers, the quantity, and also the period of extractions. So we can, with this kind of data, target also potential surveillance actions for objects on the market. So in this perspective, we use technologies such as LiDAR, photogrammetry, or tools such as GIS, which are already widely applied in traditional archaeology, and we will now leverage them for research on looting. And as you can see, LiDAR data in the center allows us to identify looting pits affecting an archaeological structure, the black holes, something that the satellite image in the left is not able to provide in this kind of environment with lots of vegetation. And in the right side, you can see the digitization of the looting features. So this kind of work allows us to access the spatial and metric information about looting excavation. Another example is the use of heat maps to analyze the distribution and concentration areas of looting, or the surveys conducted in the field during field mission verification, these surveys can also help to calibrate the methods, so to calculate the margin of error by comparing, for instance, the dimension measured in the field and the dimension estimated on other type of data like LiDAR or satellite images. And this allows us to validate the methodology and ensure its reproducibility. So finally, another part of this research takes into account also important aspect from the sociological, economic, and the political context of each regions, because to analyze because this kind of factor can influence looting practices. So we can analyze these variables, define trends, and develop, for instance, predictive models and microsimulations aimed at producing scientific data for policymakers to develop appropriate policies. It's something I'm not inventing the tools or the technologies. It's something researchers are doing for other global challenges, or to analyze networks or hidden facets of the illicit antiquity trade. Basically, it's the application of computational techniques, but they have not been tested to characterize the phenomenon of looting, for example. So this kind of example is true for looting, but for other topics and disciplines too. For instance, if we think again about objects and the provenance research, research on materials and chemical compositions with disciplines such as archaeometry can be very effective too. Certain object types such as ceramic paste or lithic materials can possess distinctive elements that indicate their origin, which is crucial for restitution efforts. Mayan pottery came from different modern countries. And also it can be useful in reconstructing trafficking itineraries and habits. So there were just some ideas, and many colleagues are working on different topics related to illicit trafficking in the academic research context. But even if the opportunities and contribution of academic research and researcher involvement across various levels are extensive, and the crucial role of scientific research in gaining a deeper understanding of phenomena has been highlighted not only in our discussion today, but also by other colleagues in previous ANCHISE Talks, for instance. I would like to conclude this presentation by emphasizing that more academic research is, and researcher involvement also is still and currently needed to inform stakeholders engaged in the fight against illicit trafficking, to provide evidence-based advice, and to guide the policies and common efforts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I see that we have multiple questions in the chat, and I will try to sum up some of them, and then directly addressing some of the others. Let's say that the element of the community is something that is pretty present in your work. Aura, you've been talking about it pretty heavily. Vincent, you touched upon it. And I see also in the chat they're asking about it, your relationship with the community. What role does your knowledge of the local terrain and the local community play in shaping your approach? Because we know that in Middle East for Vincent, and in Mesoamerica for you, Aura. We have different relationships to heritage. The human fabric is really something that you have to take into account in your work, from the sociological and psychological aspect. So the question is, how do you relate to this human fabric, and how do you work with the local community? Maybe Vincent, you can start.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, because without population, we can do nothing. As I told you, we have to be creative. We have to be inventive. You have to seize every opportunity to raise people awareness, and it's important to get the community involved in protecting their heritage. In Middle East, I try to get people to reclaim their history through their heritage. It's important to develop a sense of pride. They have to be proud of heritage. And someone who is proud will protect their heritage. And in many directions. By example, in Libya, when we started to make this restoration, we have a Ghafir, we have a guard, and we give him a postcard and some booklet, and it's free for him to sell. And I told him that if you want people visit the site, you need to be in capacity to maintain the site in good condition, in very clean, without any problem. And also in Libya, by example, but also in Palestine, when people found by chance some artifacts, they could give back to the Department of Antiquity and their thanks and receive a diploma. We have also to rely on school, and the European project of Picture is an excellent example how to improve the involvement of the local population. My goal is to fight ignorance, and all the occasions are good to fight this scourge.
Thank you. Aura?
Yeah, I will elaborate a little bit on what Vincent just said, but so fostering the involvement and participation of local communities when you are working on the field, it's key to protect the cultural heritage, archaeological heritage, because these people, I mean, I'm working in some areas where people, local communities, live on archaeological sites. So the complexity of the situation it's sometimes difficult to address, but the only tool you can use, from my perspective, is dialogue, exchange, explication of what you are doing in their lands, in their courtyards, in their houses. So engaging the population, engaging people, listening to their needs, because contexts are different. Every archaeological site or communities has its needs, and you can't you have to speak with people and build trust, because as I mentioned, there are some areas where I'm working on where there are trust issues with authorities, local institutions. So you are arriving as a researcher with the project, and you have to build a relationship of trust with people to hope that people, it's true, Vincent said people are proud. Yes, when they are proud, but sometimes they have needs. So it's a little bit tricky sometimes, and but the only way is the engagement of on the local communities and with the younger generation, because in other areas where I'm working, older people are not from this part of Mexico. So the cultural heritage, the archaeological heritage is not there. They don't perceive this cultural heritage as something of part of their identity, of their history. But younger generation, yes, because they are born there, and so it's like you build a relationship with a part of the community, and this can help also to engage another part of the community that is less engaged at the beginning. So, but it's dialogue and discussion and lots of listening also.
Thank you, Aura. Thank you very much. And our time today was limited, so we are almost at the end of today's presentation. But I saw some let's say some questions in the chat that were trying to ask about also other things that the ANCHISE project tries to do. So here you have the contacts of the ANCHISE project. Go on the website, have a look, and explore our resources on the topic of the fight against illicit trafficking of cultural goods. I thank the speaker, Vincent Michel and Aura Fossati. Thank you very much. It was a really interesting conversation. And I hope to see all of you again in the next episode of the ANCHISE Talks. And you will hear from us through newsletter or social media. So follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter, or register to the newsletter. Thank you very much again, and see you very, very soon.